Morning. Hello, you can use your microphone. I need it. Hello, good morning. It's 8 o'clock, so we're gonna start. Welcome, see all of you here. This is the DDA March 12th, 2025 meeting. And we'll call the meeting to order, and Becky, if you could do roll call, that would be great.
Yes, I can. Maggie Lacy.
Here.
Vicky Law.
Here.
Tom Graham.
Here.
Gail Brown.
Here.
Tremors.
Here.
Laura Smith White. Here. Margaret Tweeden.
Here.
And Lizzie.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. And on the regular meeting minutes from February 12th, there are two amendments that we saw. And then if you have another one or two, please let us know. The first one is that on the notes, Lizzie is marked as present and absent on the review, so that will be amended. And the other is, and this was a format error, under new business, the points go from 1 to 5, no 6, and then 7. So that will be, and I just will remove 6.
Gail has a great eagle eye
I didn't even see that one.
that apparently I need.
And are there any notes? No. No.
I have a question on the financial statement. The expenses doesn't add up. Are we missing a couple of lines?
Well, I hope not. Can you, I will say I'm having a little bit of an issue time-wise getting this report from, and we've got to iron this out, getting it from Nick, and then I didn't get it from him until after he was gone home on Friday, then I couldn't talk to him about it, so I have to get it to you on by Sunday night, so that timing is becoming a problem, so that's gotta get ironed out, but tell me what you're.
I'll just go through it afterwards,
Okay.
because then sounds like you probably have it already.
Well,
It's not,
It,
it just said the totals for expenses is 405,000. But if you add up everything under expenses, it doesn't come close to that. So that's why I'm,
if you add up, okay, so that's the budget.
That's the budget expenses.
405 number.
it's under, okay,
So that's what we can spend. The second column is what we spent that month.
okay. Okay,
And that looks at eyesight to be okay to me.
well, I was just looking for a total of expenses so far, or plan for 225. And how we got
Planned
there.
is the first column.
Yeah.
That's what we budgeted.
I understand
Yeah, yeah.
that.
You-
Okay.
You got it?
Mhm.
Are we okay?
Yes,
We'll talk.
we'll be fine.
Okay. Thanks for questioning them, Dr. Monsieur.
And no other one for anything?
No, I didn't see anything else. No.
Excellent. So I just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second. Second, okay. So the consent agenda will be approved with 2 amendments we talked about. Excellent. Okay. Public. Good morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, put it to the board. I'm
Put your
sorry.
microphone on.
I would just watch Nick walking. Oh, here. Okay, we just need a vote on the approval of the consent agenda. Everyone that is approved or agreed, say aye.
Aye.
I'm away. And any noes? Excellent. Okay, motion approved. So now we'll go to the public comment. Any comments from the great audience we have today?
Real quick, we have suspended winter parking at least because in the next couple of weeks, there's no forecast for any significant snow. So instead of writing people that are parked overnight, we're gonna, for the next couple of weeks, if we get a storm, we'll put on our Facebook post. It goes through the end of March anyway, so we're hearing that. But instead of like people that are coming out just to visit, we've suspended our overnight parking. So we get more.
Excellent.
Any questions or concerns for us on that?
That's good,
All right, thank you.
friendly.
Excellent. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ben.
I had a comment about the pots that are going on Main Street. Do you want me to wait till the downtown enhancement or would you like?
You can do that because that is on, Margaret will do a summary and then,
Yeah.
yes, we'll be there. Excellent. Any other comments? No? Good. Okay, old business. Now, the first one is discussion and action plan regarding RFP for the lamp post lighting project, painting project. So Becky, I'm gonna turn that over to you.
Okay, well, as you are aware, we did put out an RFP for this project. The deadline for opening the proposals was February 28th. We got one. I did have this posted in several places, plus on the website, plus on Facebook. I feel it was out there and could have been seen, but we got one. And it was 113,005 something, which is way more than we had anticipated it would be. And what we have for the entire project is 125,000. I have spoken to that bidder. His bid, which you have in your packet, was very complete, very thorough, very professional. What he said to me is, I haven't painted a lamppost before. I want to do a good job. My whole business is Harbor Springs based, and I am known here, and I want to keep my reputation where it should be. So I just did the best I could to estimate how much it might be. He said maybe if I even painted a post, it might only take me half the time I thought that it would. So, but this is from my best guess, my best judgment that he could do it. So what we need to do today is decide whether or not we're going to accept that bid. And my recommendation would be that we not. It's too high for us to be able to afford. And if we do that, then the city policies, purchasing policies, we could, because we've already gone out and done the due diligence, we could say, okay, now we're going to look at this. We're just going to talk to people that we know who might be painters and see what we can get and get it in under that $40,000 number. That is what you're allowed to do without a formal bidding process. So that would be my recommendation today, is that we officially reject this bid and then move ahead to find someone who can do it by word of mouth for much, much less.
Can I make some comments on this? So I think it was great that we actually have a bid to look at to see what their process was and what they would do. So that did include the material and also the lift. And I just know by personal experience, even getting a dumpster is like $100 a day. So a lift, if you're looking at the timeline, what is that going to cost? So, and the material for paint, which is not inexpensive, but if you're sandblasting it, you're priming it, you're doing 2 coats, and I broke this down, and how many hours, let's say 10 hours per lamppost to do all that, that's at least 340 hours that we're looking at. So I brought it down to, if you had 2 people, being $159 an hour. And so if we're trying to get it down to under 40, I don't know anybody that's going to work that inexpensively and have a business, because it comes down to be lower than $60 an hour for a painter. So I think these contractors are going to have to, I agree, but I think we also need to be realistic for us to think that we're going to do 34 posts with that many hours, and take the care of making sure we're not damaging any property around us and the equipment that's needed. So I don't know if we'll get below $40,000.
I don't know that either. I think he did recommend in his that he recommended some paint, but we're paying for the paint.
Okay, because that showed material in that bid.
Right, that's
so.
what he thinks would be the best product, but
Okay.
that would be, it's part of the specs that we would pay for.
And we're also going from one color to another. And if you look at those posts, some of them are very faded, other ones are not. So I think the timeline's going to be a difference, but that comes down to like 34 days if they're really staying on top of it, doing one a day. So I think we got to think about timeline, because we're going into April, May. And I know that we talked about maybe attacking this a little bit differently,
So it might be attacked, that we do it in the fall. I'm sorry about that, but that might be the way we have to go. So, but it doesn't mean we should sit here and do nothing while we wait for fall to come around. Let's see what can happen. Getting estimates from other painters will only give us more information. And it's not like we're doing this frivolously. We're very serious about this. We're going to get the work done. So, I feel like it's it's not wasting anyone's time to move ahead and ask for more estimates and see,
I agree.
and compare them and see what we can do to get it done. And you know what? If it doesn't fit into our budget, then we learn something, and then next year we have to decide that we have to come up with some more money for it. Those lampposts have not been painted, I believe, Lucas told me, in 17 years, and we could all look at them and see. If you want the color change or not, you can see that they are in need of being painted, and you need to be able to maintain what you have first and foremost.
I have a quick question. After reading the formal bid, something that he put in his bid was that they would remove all the signs.
Mhm.
Is that something that we would actually want them to do, or is that something we would want DPW to do? To make sure that they all went back up properly?
We did ask in the bid, and Lucas worked on that bid with me to have
Okay.
that done.
Okay.
And I see them doing it, okay, we're gonna do this post now, take the signs
signs
down.
out and then put them
down,
back up.
back
Okay,
That's
that's
how I
fine.
see it.
So the other thing that we did bring up in downtown enhancement, just to kind of feel it out for everyone else, is that something we talked about was maybe not doing the Main Street lampposts, but new Third Street ones that we put in got quite dinged up in the process of installing. On top of that, the Gurney's parking lot, which we are gonna look into and see if that is city-owned property, which I think we believe it.
I've done that, and I can report on that if you want.
Okay, yeah. Cause we were just saying that those lampposts, if anyone's seen them lately, are in very, 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 very rough shape. There is like half the paint on that should be.
So those, it is city property, and it would be the city's responsibility, not the DDA's responsibility, to paint those, and Lucas is aware that they need painting, and it's on his horizon
Okay.
as he can fit it in, and I suggested, well, we're interested in that slate color of paint, and we'd be happy to buy the paint for it, and he said that would be great, and they will get to it.
So something that we had talked about was obviously either painting or supplying paint for that area, but redoing the Third Street lights with the new color to make it cohesive. But on top of that, there's also lights in Bay Street that have white shades and then green posts that need to be repainted as well. So it might be, we were saying, might be interesting to see if it's a lesser amount to do those smaller lights that wouldn't probably involve a lift. Because they're much smaller, thinner, they don't
And they
have
don't
the
have
intricate
signs on them
detail, and a lot, some of them probably do, but I think maybe some of them maybe down on Bay Street too, I'm not sure. But they also don't have the intricate detail, it's just basically, so it'd be a little easier. So that was an option that we thought of in downtown enhancement.
So that, if it comes to that, that's possible, we could get that done by the summer as well, and then we would have something, to show.
Are there any other comments about the bid itself as far as more rejecting it and opening it back up?
I mean, I'm in favor of rejecting it this time, because I just don't think that, obviously it's in our budget, it wasn't what we planned for. It may be like, we may end up in the fall finding out that it's what we have to plan for, and that's what we have to do, and that's completely fine. And if we do our due diligence and our research, and kind of, even if we just spitball some other costs and do the research like Maggie did, I think that if we find out that that's actually what it costs, and that's what we have to pay, then we can plan for it and do it, but I don't feel like we're ready to do that this time.
And Maggie, anybody that estimated and we were in the committee or on the committee would consider their bid, it would come back here for approval, and their scope of work would be reviewed. So
Yeah, I just think that, my point was more of, I just think that we have to be a little bit more, realistic maybe with timeline as well as what the cost might be and getting more bids. I mean, this was just a good baseline to understand a little bit about the details that they're gonna have to do.
Excellent.
So Cora, was that a motion that you?
I can make a motion to reject the bid.
I second it.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to reject the bid as it stands. And we just need to go to a vote. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any no's? Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I will take it as your direction to move forward. Work on through the committee as well. Work on finding some painters that will give us another estimate.
Okay, thank you. Next, Jeff, you're up. So the next item is on the zoning code discussion. Becky brought it up last month. And so Jeff is here to clarify that. Now, it'll be open for discussion. And the idea is we could possibly give a recommendation on wording or what we'd like to see or whether we want to see anything. And just for this discussion, because last time it was, a lot of people had an opinion on the board. So if you just raise your hand so that we're not talking over each other, that would be good. Okay.
Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, I'm the zoning administrator and I'm working with the planning commission on potential redrafts to our zoning code. And we just want to make sure that it's the zoning code that best represents what people in Harper Springs want to see and how they want to see things done. So coming to you guys, really what I'd like to know is if there's any language that you would like to see in regards to how things are done within the central business district. What kind of, spurred the idea to come to you was if you guys had any thoughts on whether there should be any language in the code that kind of provides any rules or regulations regarding how much storefront a downtown business should have to have, or whether that should be something that we regulate or not. Many businesses downtown have a lot of glass in their storefront that you can see in and see what the store looks like, things like that. Is that something that we want to try and preserve for, any potential remodels that where someone might come in and want to change the way that their storefront looks? Would we be comfortable if a business said, we don't need any storefront, we're just going to put siding up over this and just have a door because we're going to switch to more of like an office use or something? So I guess really that kind of started the idea of the conversation is, do we feel like we need any language in the zoning code that would preserve and protect storefronts as we see them now? Or if we feel that, no, we don't want to get into that, let's just let each business decide what's best for them. And so I'd really just like to get your input on that. It doesn't have to be today, but we are looking at the zoning code. We'll probably continue to be working on the zoning code at least through May. So any feedback that you guys might have and direction that you can provide us that you think might be best.
Well, I did a little research while I sat at the museum all day yesterday. And I looked at Charlevoix, and Charlevoix, they have one in their code. I mean, I guess this is what we're looking for, going to discuss. And there says buildings shall have windows and doors at street level on the street side of the building to encourage pedestrian and commercial traffic. That's the only one I could really find with Charlevoix. Didn't see anything really in Petoskey that fit this situation. Anyone have any comments or thoughts? Or obviously we have some time to pull this together.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm definitely a big fan of like having pedestrian traffic, having people walking around, having businesses that are open downtown year round. I mean, I think that I'm definitely a fan of it. I was having a hard time, we discussed this last, because I feel like regulating what you can and can't do with the building is kind of hard to people, but at the same time, I feel like if you are buying in a downtown space, that's kind of what you want. I guess some of it came down to like, if someone has to apply to have a merchant's license or not, or I mean, kind of like what the use of the space actually is. I just don't know, like if we have any sort of, or if we can't have any regulations on that. Someone was talking the other day about putting in another, not real estate business, but a real estate management business on Main Street to me. And I was just like, on Main Street? I'm like, there's some really great spaces like on other areas or on some side streets, I feel like that would make a little more sense opposed to taking Main Street businesses that would be open year round. So, I mean, I'm definitely open. I feel like that wording is very simple and easy to comply with and doesn't seem offensive. So, I mean, I'd be in favor of it.
It makes sense.
Yeah, short and concise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Well, it sure keeps the spirit of what we want to happen on Main Street by having more windows and doors other than the closed off look. I think the more we can do to enhance the experience for our tourists, the better we are as a business center. So I like the wording myself. It seems to encourage the right relationship.
Would we keep that wording? We wouldn't be putting any measurements in this because I just don't want it to get to the point where
Microphone.
Yeah, I just don't want to get to the point where, we are mandating what the size of the window is or a size of a sign, because that comes down to the character or the creativity of the person that has the business. So
We do already mandate the size of the sign according to the linear square footage of the building space, because you can only have a sign so big for, and I know that it was when I was working with Jeff 9, 10 years ago. My building, they had a freestanding sign, so freestanding signs are different than window signs, which are different than
Hanging signs.
hanging signs. So that's already all mandated in the business code, when you apply for your business license, because the building I was in, they were doing things quite a bit differently. So that's already been mandated pretty extensively, actually. Yeah, so it's actually really extensive to be able to comply with that. So that I think still works. As I don't know if that has changed at all, but
We've modified our signage language some since 10 years ago
Yeah.
when we dealt with stuff, but yeah, we have pretty extensive language and it's very specific with signage on how much signage can be on a building.
yeah,
And that's something that we're going to be looking at again, after the revision of the code. One of the things that we're looking at doing is actually pulling all of the signage language out of the general zoning code and having it be its own code of itself.
that would make a lot of sense.
Which I think really helps out, because right now it's scattered throughout the
It's
code.
very,
There's-
I mean, as you and I figured out, I mean, granted, it was 10 years ago, it was very difficult to try to adhere to in certain sections of downtown, so.
Any other comments?
Is the planning commission heading towards architectural zoning? Are they leaning that way?
We have added some very minor language to the zoning code regarding some, I guess, architectural design standards. It's very difficult to come up with language to preserve the character of the community and stop certain types of businesses who don't want to come into town. You really can't say no to a business. And what's kind of been the topic of discussion has been franchise businesses like fast food. You know, if a fast food business wanted to come into town, as long as they're willing to meet all of our regulations, we really can't stop them. But we can put language in the zoning code to make sure that, one, if they choose to come into town, that it would look like what we would like downtown to look like, or two, maybe encourage them to find some other place to go. Right? That's a polite way to say it. So our old zoning code had some language regarding how we would do that. The problem was we created a use and said, here's how we define fast food. And then we said fast food isn't permitted downtown. The trouble with that was many of our other existing businesses that I don't think we wanted to kick out of downtown technically met the definition of fast food. So we said we need to revamp this and find some other means. And our thought at the time when we kind of switched our how we were going to manage that was, what is the aspect of fast food that doesn't fit the character of Harbor Springs? And that was kind of the outside design of what the buildings look like, having large signage, things like that specific to their business. And we said, that's really what we don't want to see downtown. So we basically kind of came up with an idea of what downtown looks like and said, we'd like to keep that look. So like I said, we can't really say you can't be here. We can say, if you're going to be here, this is what you'll look like.
We've always controlled the parking in the past. We've always controlled the parking. Parking requirements.
But I've seen in other communities like Charlevoix where they're willing to spend millions of dollars to buy adjacent property to tear it down to create the parking if that's what they need to do to get here. So I think that would be dangerous to try and limit ourselves to, and then the other thing is we can't specify that regulation would only be for that use, or it'd be very difficult. So we would be increasing the parking requirement for other businesses downtown as well.
If you don't want more buildings like the Ma Bell building, mine.
Yeah.
Historical society, right?
Which building? Oh, the,
Michigan Bell.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's what would you like to see downtown? We've recently had a couple of businesses that have said, we don't need our storefront. So we're going to wall over this and not have windows.
Seriously?
Well, we had somebody that's, I think, working on a project right now on Third Street. It's removing some where they used to have windows and replacing it with walls because it's not needed for their current use. So it's just kind of a, I don't wanna pick on any specific business, good or bad, but it's just, what would we like to see moving forward? Is that something we're comfortable with?
I think the language, at least for me personally, at least the language in the Charlevoix, because I'm with Cora, it's very difficult to regulate what a building owner is going to do with their building, with their property, and we've run into that before. But I also am with Chuck and Cora that I have a business on Main Street that you want to keep that inviting feeling that it is an open for shopping, open business area. So I think the balance between, you know, regulating too much where businesses don't want to come into Harbor Springs and we end up with what we did 12, 15 years ago when we had tons of open spaces, or, you know, getting businesses, because we have more businesses that are open year round now. But I think that language is universal enough that it can still be regulated, but it's not so unwelcoming. Because I do think that having windows, I would hate to see a bunch of boarded up buildings, but you know, with the way that offices and stuff like that are coming in and less retail and things like that, I think that it is something that we need to think about. But that language is safe enough that it's not gonna cause too many waves, I don't believe, and it would be something that's easily enforced, in my opinion. I mean, it's obviously worked for Charlevoix, so.
I know the building you're talking about on Third Street, and I concur, I would like it to look like it's open, but I don't know how that's gonna happen.
It's already been approved, hasn't it? It's already been approved, everything's done.
Yeah, and there's, you know, I can't arbitrarily, without being able to cite a regulation, say we can or can't do something.
Well, and I think it also has to be in cohesion with what business is trying to go in there too. I mean, there's some things that just, it's almost like it's gonna have to be like a case by case basis with. Cause. Yeah,
Well, I mean, ideally, if you're gonna come in and, let's say, take out, like, you know, someone buys the outfitter and decides that they wanna turn that into office space and wall everything over. You know, I think it's like something like that, where it's a big staple downtown, or we just wanna be like, no, that's not really what you could do. You could split it up maybe and put one office space, but you still have to have a window. You still have to have it, so it's like, you could see, and there's pedestrian traffic, it's not like, you know, completely walled over where it's just like, oh, there used to be something here, maybe.
yeah, and I do kind of, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the building that we're talking about on Third Street. And again, I think that's a tough one because it's already an existing business and it's already something, and it's a big project that would bring, you know, a lot of business in town, but it's.
I don't know,
yeah.
I mean, I'm on Third Street too, so I mean, the idea of something like that is like, maybe we could create an art piece that goes over it with something else that's inviting, opposed to just having like an area that's just bricked over.
100%.
You know, something that's drawing to the eye that would actually draw people to come and look at it, so.
Even signage.
So Jeff, for this discussion, what you want us to do, you'll take it to the planning commission, is that, you know, just and then they can manipulate or whatever, how the
Yep.
wording.
I can certainly just come back with the discussion that we had here, and, you know, convey that to the planning commission. If you guys have some specific recommendations, you can certainly do, you know, have further discussion or do a motion or something and say, here's, you know, if you like that language that Charlevoix had, you could recommend that something along that line be added to the code, or just anecdotally pass on the discussion that we've had, is fine too. And I'm sure we can, you know, invite Becky to come and meet with us, and she can share her thoughts and convey your wishes as well.
Any thoughts on that recommendation to the planning commission? No?
I think I would like to see what the planning commission what their thoughts are after he relays this conversation, what they're thinking, and then go from there before I would feel comfortable making any kind of motion.
It's more of a, I think, a discussion. I mean, if we, well, you can bring that, I can send to you what this is, and then you can just bring it to them. And then see what they come up with, because I think Bill Mulder said he put something together.
At the last meeting.
Yeah, at the last.
So I think that I'm hearing there's consensus here that you are interested in this and you would support it depending on the language and are happy that they're considering. They're asking for opinions.
I think we want to encourage some language to be put in.
Right.
We don't have a situation like what we're talking about on Third Street. Because if we eventually want Third Street to become more of a retail center, put in an office
Yes.
space with no windows,
Yes.
that's not our goal.
Great,
That help?
I think we can, I've got something I can take to them, yeah,
Okay, excellent.
thank you.
Thanks for attending so early in the morning. Okay,
With that, the way I'm gonna get back to
were
work.
there any comments from the public? I didn't even ask you if anyone had any thoughts. No? Okay. So next is the promotion committee report. Jody is not here, so bear with me, I'm gonna be doing it. So, and then as far as Ice Fest, Nikki chairs that committee and she's going to take all, share what Ice Fest the success. So on the promotions committee report, that we met, we being they did on January 28th. And they were just discussing the, report from the, Keep It Real Social, so that's a big push for us. So, so far, we're very happy. There's still work to do and, Summer.
Summer.
Oh, summer,
Like the
it's
season.
both of them. Oh, I'm like, what summer? And she has continued to working on that with Becky and with that promotional team. So one of the focuses for her is focusing on those businesses that are open downtown all year round, especially in the winter, because that's huge. There are several of them now, and we're very excited about that. There was some discussion about, looking at next year. So we have a placemaker in there it's called right now Skeletons Arise. And Sarah's been working with, oh my gosh, Pontius, Jamie at Pontius, and about doing it. She's very excited and she's working on doing a big floral display. It's kind of that Instagrammable, and there'll be some fun things in there, but we think that it's not scary. It's going to be beautiful. People will come down and want their picture taken. And so she's excited about it. She'll pull something together for us to look at. And Sarah's really working very closely with her. And then we're working on a visit with Santas. Not Santas, Santa. And so we kind of have not a commitment yet, but there is a Santa who does this. And we're looking at a building that is a storefront that is available in the winter because the store is only seasonal. And that we would have Santa there and make it really a kids event. Right now, they're looking at maybe 2 days during the week and 2 evenings on Fridays. You know, that is not finalized yet, but it's just what the team is looking at. And then there would be, letters to Santa could be received there, just to make it a fun event to bring kids and families downtown. And that's really very quickly what the promotions committee is working, which is huge. And then I'm going to turn it over to Nikki with the Ice Fest.
So at the promotions committee, Gail went over and walked through town and talked to businesses, and got some feedback about Ice Fest and what businesses that participated, what they thought about it. Overall, the consensus was that they believed there was quite a few people in town. The outfitter said that it was a great event. They had a lot of sales. Bell Aquatic said that they didn't necessarily equate with a lot of sales, but they were really excited with the amount of people that were downtown. As I said, the last time I walked through downtown so much on Friday and Saturday, Gail and I both did, and it seemed like we had really large crowds everywhere, especially in front of the businesses that did the live demos. So overall, I think we had a really successful event. There was some talk about, now that Otis is participating, when Bay Harbor held this event years and years ago. I know for a couple years that they did their Ice and Spice Festival, they had it as a nationally sanctioned ice carving event, which means that they had 15, 20 plus carvers that came from all over the world. You can kind of think of what Traverse City does with the fireworks international display that they put on in the Pittsfitters Stadium. And the biggest condition with this was, one of the reasons why we were always kind of taken out of it was the amount of rooms that we needed to be able to hold them. That is something that we could potentially work towards. I am putting out an email to the carver that we work with to see what the regulations and rules for that would be, because I think it would be something really, really special to bring into downtown. Just because of, I mean, the height of some of these staff or carvings that they did was, I don't know if anybody ever went to Bay Harbor to see it. It was pretty spectacular. So that's something, there's a lot of room to grow this event. And I think after, 7, 8 years, it's really people, we talked to people that came from 3.5 hours away just for that weekend. Gail talked to a group of women that were staying at the Terrace Inn, and they were hanging out in Petoskey for the weekend, and they came up specifically because of Ice Fest. So I know that there's been some talk about, does it equate to sales? What does it do for Main Street? What does it do for downtown? From our standpoint, our whole point when we started this event was to bring people downtown. That was our mission, to bring awareness to downtown, to show that we're more. And we heard that a lot, that people were amazed that there was something going on, that there was so much free stuff to do, and it didn't cost people so much. So whether or not that ends up equating to somebody coming back later, or they're like, oh my gosh, this area is so beautiful, we're going to come back in the spring or the summer. You don't know what kind of visibility you're getting or for how much. So I'm really thankful that the committee wants to start working on it again for next year. We're going to start working on it a little bit early to see if we can pull anything off in the next couple of years for maybe a nationally sanctioned event to be held in Harbor. But overall, the new businesses that participated, and we got a lot of businesses from outside of Harbor that participated, Sheboygan, Petoskey. So that helped show off their businesses, but also showed pulling community support from surrounding areas too, which I think is really important. So overall, I think it was a really big success.
And I'm just gonna go on, just comment one thing. If you have, we know, and Nikki knows that we discussed it, that there are some things we want to incorporate, maybe some do-betters moving forward. So when we have the meeting, the initial meeting for 2026, then just your input would be great, of the board's input, as we move forward, because there was a lot of discussion at the enhancement, it's the promotions committee, about that. So this, we don't want to get into all the details right now because we're not to that point. We're still glowing from the Ice Fest 2025. So just keep that in mind, that, share your ideas as you move forward.
Well, and the one thing too that we have in the Ice Fest committee, not just the promotions committee, is we have a working spreadsheet dating back, I don't even know how many years. And Amy's been amazing at putting that together. And we go through and find our list of big things that we need to do better, that we'd like to try to make sure, like garbage cans in the park were on the list for last year. We go through and make sure to see what we've tackled and any feedback that we get from businesses. So we're always trying to improve and to do more and to talk about getting sponsorships, because quite honestly, this isn't possible without getting the sponsorships and the support of the community and surrounding community. So that's something that we are always working on when we start. And always our first Ice Fest meeting that's what we talk about for the first couple meetings before we do anything else.
Excellent.
Yeah, Gail, could I just comment so that everyone is fully aware of this? If they're not, this is a money in, money out. Made a little bit of money, or well, when everything is collected, makes a little bit of money, but it takes volunteer and staff time, but it doesn't cost the board any money or the DDA any money. So that's something to keep in mind. And then just anecdotally, I'll tell you, in 30 years, I have never seen a committee that works as hard as the Ice Fest subcommittee. I can't even believe the work that they do. They just do it all. And it's phenomenal. And Nikki, congratulations. You just really took a baby and are raising it to through adolescence.
Well, and one thing, when there was 3 of us that decided to start this event, and the reason that we decided was, other than President's Weekend in February, it's really dead. It's really dead downtown. And it was really dead 8 years ago. So that was the biggest reason that we wanted to start something, was to bring people into town. And we did have perfect conditions this last winter. I mean, it really was like, the carvings lasted for a couple weeks. They weren't gone in 24 hours like my poor owl 2 years ago. But this winter the weather was spectacular. The horse and carriage rides were amazing. So we've definitely grown to where I think we had a really, really perfect weekend. So we got lucky this year too.
Thanks, Nikki.
Yep.
Okay.
It sure looked nice, a lot nicer on Saturday with the flag stands that are all the ice sculptures.
Yeah, yep. So when the ice company comes, when we meet with them on Friday morning to start setting up all the pre-carved sculptures, that's something that they bring up. So for the weekend, we leave those up starting Friday morning through Sunday, like late morning, mid-afternoon before they leave. And then the Lyric had their own stand that they brought out Saturday night. So then the carvers just moved them over. So that's something that we'll put in the sponsorship paperwork for next year, that if a business wants to keep theirs on a stand, if they provide a stand, that the carvers will move it from their stand that they take home to whatever stand the business wants out. And we're always good about if there's specific recommendations for businesses saying, you know, we want it to the left of the window or right, whatever, that we have a bunch of notes on everybody's sponsorships to make sure that we do that as well.
You can't talk them into take them later in the day.
Well, they're from Ohio, so they leave on Sunday. So they had another big festival on Tuesday that they needed to get back to start getting prepped for that weekend.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Too much business is a good problem.
Yes.
It is. Okay, now the Downtown Enhancement Committee is chaired by Margaret. They're doing wonderful.
Well, the last meeting we had, which we had this past week, Friday, instead of, anyway, we did an update of the Merchants Walkway. It sounds like it's gonna happen as soon as the weather breaks.
Yeah.
We talked about the bid for the lamp posts, and talked about if we can't get the bid for the big lamp posts, to talk about doing the small hook lights instead, and the big clock on the corner of State and Main. So that's another option for getting things painted. We set a date, get your pencils out, to plant on the 18th of May. The flower pots are here, and we are talking to the garden club about what kind of flowers. We have some photographs that we looked at. And there's 10 big pots and 20 smaller pots to sprinkle around town. We talked about the benches, the bike racks, the trash cans that Gail's been getting into. And we talked about the way to buy a bench. We have one sold already for dedication. Did you have any feedback about the trash cans, bike racks and.
So I've been in close contact with Doug. So in our last meeting, we discussed taking one more walkthrough so that we could all kind of make sure everything is where we want it, especially the bike racks. Bike racks, I don't know how many styles they come in. And some are e-bikes, will accommodate e-bike, large tire bikes. So we'll be ready. We're just gonna set the date. Doug will come in. We had a email conversation with him yesterday. So he'll just take one more look at those bike racks and look at that Gurney's, that strip of ground between Spring and Gurney's. So we're on target.
This, yeah, okay, great. We talked about some of the water fountains that were leaking, that you've contacted some of the people.
I have not yet,
Oh, you have not,
but I know I have to.
but some of the natural spring or the water fountains in town are leaking. So we talked about the utility boxes. There's some open utility boxes, especially on Third Street that, when Lucas, talked to us about it, they can be lowered. I have some photographs I took when a car is passing right now. They're up high enough to block when you look to see if anybody's coming up Gardner or Spring. So we need to lower the boxes where necessary on Third and then cover them with a box. And we're talking about doing some kind of a invitation for artists to come and do some kind of art on those boxes.
That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, so it's not just a green box.
It's fantastic.
We talked about cigarette urns. Everybody had different feelings about those. Do we want to promote people standing outside? So
we're gonna monitor that. this summer.
monitoring. And we talked about dog water bowls, so we're monitoring that. And we still have future projects like the Dana was talking to us about new trees, sidewalk replacement, lighting and irrigation. So and we're talking still about facade grants and public art. So
Excellent. Danny, you had a comment on.
I did,
How
so the planters are here, and
Yes.
there actually is a picture of them floating around town, of course, in a small town this happens. And it looks to me like with a person standing next to them, they're gonna be like this high. I just want to give you guys a cautionary tale on what happened with parks and the playground. I don't know if you have a mechanism for sharing what you're doing with the public, but I just am so afraid for you that people are gonna come back to town and see these giant pots on Main Street flip out, kind of in the way they did with playground. So I don't know if there's like, you could set them out and mock them up and tell us what you think or something like that, but that's actually one of our do-betters that we came away from the whole playground project with is mock it up, trial it. The other do-better that we came away from that experience with is the public want to know what's happening and they want to have a voice. So it's on a little different level than like adding benches or, trash cans. Same thing with parks, I guess, but I don't know. I think you could possibly head off, maybe some concerns. I personally am worried. Did you guys check in with Kyle about the big pots on the sidewalks and any concerns? I understand there's going to be groups of them at the corner. Is that right?
We did.
there's a few corners. The whole CBD, there's gonna be 10 pots. And they're sprinkled. There's 3 on Third, 2 on Main, 1 on 2 down by Bay Street. So
I'm just thinking from, from a city planning standpoint, you're always supposed to have that clear range of vision at corners.
right, these will be below they're not gonna be above how a car window is. They're gonna be below that.
They're also not gonna be on the main like our main intersections, they're not gonna be like in a area, like, we're not gonna be all four corners. Yeah, they're not gonna be on all four.
No,
They're actually in like further away areas to direct your eyes, like,
We
down
have
to Bay.
Margaret had shared a map, a couple meetings ago. That showed, cause there was a comment about making sure that they were kind of all through town. And I think they did a really great job, and just one quick comment with that. To put it on record, our downtown has, in my opinion, we've tried very hard with the flowers and cityscaping since we took away the boxes around the trees. I think other towns do a much better job than what we have done in the past. And I'm really hopeful that the people that come back into town see that and see the pots, and that we've worked with trip hazards, we've worked with killing trees, we've worked with irrigation problems, and we've come up with a plan after 8 years and solved that to enhance and beautify the downtown. We had mulch that went into sidewalks. We had plants around people's trees that people decided to kill and not water. Then we had an irrigation problem. We have dogs trampling and people letting their dogs pee everywhere. So I really hope that, I've seen these pots and, what we could grow with and make our town finally look as good as it did when we had the boxes around the trees. So
whether people do or don't like the pots, my advice would be just to get the word out, that we're really excited. We have this new thing coming, and just so it's not like a shocker, kind of like the playground.
I think we'll be able to accomplish that with our social media. Now that we have that arm working operative for us, I think we'll be able to do that.
I guess before
focus on the fact
they're
that
filled
the
with
pots
dirt
are-
and,
Well,
What do we have on now?
I can't see how that's gonna happen.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
unrealistic.
We could present it at the city council meeting, just to do a little, bit of information, but we talked about that, maybe it might not work there. Cause we replace them, and we might have to move them around, so we do know that we have to really kind of look and see what it looks like, so we're cognizant of it, but I do agree that maybe not shock the public until, last minute, so maybe you presented at the council meeting, just a little bit of information on it.
Presented at the council
Well,
meeting.
people always listen to the city council meetings, more people listen to the city council meetings than the DDA meeting. So maybe if we're trying to bring that forward, besides just the social media, we just do a little, small presentation about it.
Well, the pots are here.
Yes, the
Well,
pots
I
are purchased.
Yeah, oh no, I know that when they're there, I do,
Right.
I like Maggie's idea, though. I think that would be great, like bring the 2 sizes to city council, and you could get some silk flowers to put in them, just so people kind of get a vision of what it could look like.
I think personally, I think that is,
I just think telling them it'd be.
I think that's going way too overboard with, the general consensus, since we've been dealing with the flowers, is that we need to enhance and deal with flowers in downtown. It's been a sore spot for the community for a while. So we scaled back the amount that we were gonna purchase because we wanted this as a trial. So I personally, we plant flowers every year. There's always people that have some kind of opinion about what flowers we plant, how we do it. And personally, this has been a lot of work. I would say put the pots out, plant them, and then if we need to move things because of whatever, then they're not permanent. We can readjust that plan, but we've
I'm just
worked.
thinking this is kind of like on another whole level, though, and which type of flowers go in.
But it's not,
Perfect example is the merchants walkway.
yeah, I don't wanna
Which
get into
we
that.
got into getting everybody's opinion, and it went from fixing the cement to over $1 million project.
And now back to fixing the cement.
Yeah, so we're back to, so
I just
the
put
more
pots out.
people you ask, the more people that are on the committee, the more comments you're gonna get. It's just like daylight savings
Yeah, I
time.
guess I don't agree with that.
Go right ahead. Jamie.
I would like to encourage, like Maggie said, to present it to council for the whole plan, not just the pots.
Yeah, I just think that you just say,
Just so that
This
it's
is
out
what
in
we're
the
doing.
public, it gives people an opportunity to have public comment, to have a say. I also think that if you're talking about painting the weekly lights on Bay Street, you should check with the Parks Board and get their opinion. Because I do think that there was a reason that they are green and then white on the top. I think that before you jump into parks and start doing things, they should go to the Parks Board, even if you have a joint meeting or you just ask Rachel.
I did quickly ask Rachel and she said that to her knowledge, there was no reason that they were white on the top.
Other people did.
There is a reason.
Okay, that was the reason that was when I had asked Rachel quickly and that was the comment that I had gotten, so
Color
that's,
scheme is a little bizarre, but there was a reason.
that's totally fine, like that was, we weren't gonna actually go ahead and paint anything without going ahead on it, it was just trying to figure out how to make it all cohesive, because it just does make sense.
I just think from the standpoint of, like the parks, you know, we wouldn't do anything without letting the public know. So is this a different situation where you can do anything downtown, without anybody knowing?
I mean, I just feel like our meetings are open to the public
That's
and,
what we thought too. And
yeah, I mean, I feel like our meetings are open to the public. We have the mayor present, and I feel like if the mayor wants to present these things, just like Matt used to present things that we were doing and other people, I mean, I feel like we do our due diligence, but,
Well, and I don't think it's a fair argument to compare this to the playground. The playground was a permanent fixture. And there was a whole lot that went into that. And I mean, maybe I've been gone and I haven't paid attention to social media, that there would be that these would be compared to a permanent fixture, but, or that there would be that much upheaval about flower pots, but, I could very well be wrong. So anyway. Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Mayor? Would you
Well,
like to?
we have one.
Hold on.
Okay.
I kind of agree with what Danny's saying. I think that we gotta do a better job as the DDA and promote what we're doing and what we're planning. I can't see how the harm is in sending out an email or sending out some notice that, hey, we're very excited, because you really have put a lot of time and effort into doing this. This is what we think is gonna happen, and look forward, it's gonna be on the streets by June 1st or whatever else. But we can do a much better job as the DDA talking about what we're doing in planning. And no, you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand you all say that, but letting people know in advance, giving them a heads up, how can you go wrong?
Well, and I absolutely agree with that, but I think what I was hearing is that we want to do it to get opinions.
no,
I don't
I
want
think
it.
I wouldn't, my suggestion was just to present it, this is what we're doing, not to get opinions. But so people are aware that we're going out there on the 18th and they're being planted. And we can also say, if it doesn't work at this location, we will be moving them around. So I don't believe that we should go to council for feedback. It's saying, this is what we're doing. You know, it's kind of like giving them an update that you did a couple of weeks ago, couple of meetings ago.
Becky,
I would just add that council did approve our budget, so, and they saw that in our budget. We do have the mayor on the board, his role is to be a liaison. And I did write in Victor's monthly newsletter, I did write an article that was upbeat and this is what we're doing. And I didn't get any feedback from that, at least that came directly to me. But those are things that have been done. And as we put them out there and plan through our social media pages, we could spread the word that way as well. I will take direction for what the board says, but I feel like you should know that these things have been done.
We did all that in the playground too.
Well, I think there's only so much we can do, and I'm with Margaret, we don't want merchants walk. It was just, it's a shame that we're still working on the merchants. And the waste of time and resources.
I am happy to create a mock-up that goes directly to whoever that is a digital version of what Margaret has. She has a very large, like 3-foot map that she's been using to mock this up with just painter's tape, which is obviously movable. I'm happy to mock up a digital thing that we can take to city council or something that we can put on Facebook, something that we can put in the paper, something that we can put everywhere. You know, my large fear is also with the playground and also with Merchants Walkway is that no matter how many places we put it, there are still gonna be people that show up and say, we didn't know, how could you do this behind our backs? And I think that is a problem that we're, facing, and I hate it. I mean, I hate it because we all are doing super hard work with the playground, with these things. We know how hard of the work we're doing, and we are not trying to hide anything from anyone. We're just trying to make everything better.
And go to council.
Enhance. Trying to
Mr.
enhance,
Mayor?
that's our role.
What's your thought on
I
that?
think the council, right, is it the idea is 30 flower pots are supposed to replace all the flowers for all the trees? Is that the idea?
Yes.
All the, underneath all the trees, it's been impossible to plant because the roots come up. And
Not
it's,
impossible. I plant every year. Yeah,
well, if you get all the roots, all the trees, some you can plant around, some there's no dirt left because the roots have all up.
We do the physical planting every year.
Yeah, and we've been doing the physical planting and it's arduous, and the merchants that have the flowers in front of their store will not water them.
I will.
So, well, you do, but now I'm talking about in general, we're trying to make a uniform feel. So we're gonna mulch underneath the trees. And if somebody wants to put flowers out in front of their store, they're more than welcome to do that. But these flower pots will be kind of just sprinkled around, big, beautiful bouquets of flowers.
There's a lot less flowers.
Less, well, it will be less little flowers along the way, but if you have walked along the street sometime around July, they're stomped on, they're dead, there's mulch flying all over, so.
The mulch gets spread all over. They did that a few years ago.
Right. And ideally, we want tree grates. Ideally, but that's not in the budget right now, and that.
So you wanna go to no flowers?
Oh, we want to put flowers in pots.
Don't the tree grates, wouldn't they negate that?
No, we don't. If we put the tree grate around the tree will be happy. And if you want to put a flower pot on top of it, you could. Yeah, but ideally, we're trying to create more space around the trees when people get in and out. There's been issues with the branches being too low. Actually, Gail went around with somebody, was it? And trimmed some of the branches because when you're walking, they'll, so the idea is to get the area cleaned up underneath the trees. The trees will be happier because they'll actually have more water coming down. And there'll be a solid place for people to step.
Gotta quit planting trees with berries.
Sarah,
We have a comment on Zoom. I don't.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
please.
Go ahead.
Miranda,
Miranda.
we're trying to unmute you. You need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Miranda Miller here. I'm just kind of want to concur with Maggie. I think to save all of you guys a bunch of grief, inform a whole huge other sector that I talk to, and there is a constant theme, for lack of a better term. People say, our streets are too crapped up. We don't want to see any more on the street. I think cleaning it up, getting flowers, underneath the trees, whatever, you are correct. It's been a constant problem. There has been, very expensive solutions that got more expensive. But the ideas under the tree and all that was brought to city council before, and to bring awareness to everybody and let them know what you're doing. I think really would save you a lot of grief. It's just more exposure and more transparency. And also, and maybe I didn't hear what your decision was, the idea of bringing exaggerated big, actually large ashtrays, which are dirty and just look terrible. It looks like, 19 whatever, urban. It's pretty. I don't see how Harbor Springs, I'm downtown a lot. I never see any cigarette butts on the ground or anything. But who wants to clean those or look at exaggerated ashtrays all over town? I think that is a waste of money and just more clutter. But anyway, I'd like to say that about, I would love to see the flowers. It sounds like a great idea. But save yourself some grief for those who are not here. You'll get blowback if it's not brought out into the light. That's all I've got. Thank you.
And Miranda, I just want to clarify the cigarette containers, butt containers or whatever they are. That was just something that someone brought up and we just put it on our list of, researching it or whatever. It is not, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Well, I'd take it off.
I'll let you know.
I don't think
Okay.
that many people smoke. We're a clean city. That is one thing. You don't see trash and stuff around, but nobody wants to look at that. Anyway, that's all. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Jamie?
I also think that if you brought this to council with a plan, like Cora said, she could make a digital plan. It would really help when council talks about outdoor display of goods. I know that's on the agenda probably before the summer. Because right now, the thing expired from last year that extended it. So adding more to the sidewalks could affect what people think of outdoor displays of goods and other things that were allowed during the pandemic and have been continued to be allowed.
Any comments? No? Well, we appreciate all the comments and.
I have no comment about the flowers in the flower pots. I just, as you get further into the benches and the sale of the benches for memorials, remember to use the chamber and we can put that out there in our newsletter that you're doing that.
Thank you.
Because that's a great thing that a lot of people do like to do, and we've gotten that phone call before. We want to buy something to commemorate somebody, so use us.
I have that on my list, Bonnie. That was very nice of you to offer before. We're hearing from.
Okay, we'll move on. Becky, your director's.
Okay. So the sidewalk snow removal is going well. It was nice to hear from Chief this morning that the overnight snow with parking has been lifted because we don't expect to see a lot more snow. It's been running under about $1,000 a month to get this done, which in a heavy winter, I'm very pleased with. We have worked out things. I've gotten about 0 negative feedback from merchants who aren't happy with it. There still is the continuing, if someone isn't here and they're not taking care of their sidewalk in front of their store, enforcing the ordinance is still an undercurrent, but it's better than it has been. At least I'm told that. So I'll get some final numbers on that probably by May. So going forward, what I'll be working on is continuing to work on this unification beautification project. We still have these number of things hanging out: the design of the flower pots, the order the bike racks and benches, and the trash cans. And then to see what I can do about the lamppost painting contractor. We still need to do some work on the shuttle service exploration. We got to get busy. This is in my lap to get busy working on the shop map and the directory signs. And we would like to work on that historic plaque program. I don't know if we'll get one up this summer, but we might get at least one. We'll see how that works. And then I just would report to you that perhaps foolishly, but I did it anyway. I went to the MDA Legislative Day in Lansing this week. No different than sitting here. I've been struggling with my arms, so I struggled with it there. But I wanted to go to the legislative day because we have new legislators in Lansing, and there are lots of new projects that are being talked about there. And knowing the legislators face to face, getting in front of them and talking to them about how important downtown development authorities are and the good work that can be done through them. And letting them know how important that funding is to us is very, very important. And I feel like some of the senior members on the MDA made some great contacts and we had a very successful day that day. And I stayed around for the workshop on the second day because I was the speaker at the very end of the day for just a short period of time. But there were some classes there that one of them was about preparing for the next takeover of the succession planning of the next, which I've never taken a class on succession planning before. And I'm not gonna live forever, so I'd like to leave this position in a good situation to move forward. So that was valuable to me too as well. So that's what I have been doing and we will be doing. Questions?
Okay, we'll open it to public comments. Anything? No? Just any board comments?
The other thing I forgot to mention is we talked about, we're trying to find out if there's a fine as we walk our dogs. Or if there's a fine about whether you can leave your dog poop where it is, or if you get fined. And we're talking about maybe getting some kind of little sign to sprinkle along where the grass is on Third Street and maybe down by the water. Just a little thing that just says, if there is a fine, pick up or get fined or whatever, something. So there's no notification anywhere in town about that right now.
Cool. Anything else? Okay. We'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks for all the comments. We appreciate it.
The expenses.
This is.
Really should.
Thank you. Hey there. Good morning, Sunshine. How are you? I wanted to change this.
I just want to make sure that.
That reminded me.
Actually.
Tuesday, the budget will be really, it's been back to make them see that. I know, yeah.
Revenue created.
I-
Yeah.
That's my concern, and I. Well, it's not like anybody. But anyway, I do want to, and it. But I.